Jenna was playing in her Uncle Matthew's museum, the Time Treasury, with her stuffed dragon, Toothless, when a bright glow nearly blinded her. She jumped up, dropping Toothless, and spun around to see the singing bowl lighting up, its engravings glowing. The singing bowl was how Jenna, her brother Thomas, and her cousin Ben traveled through time. But after its malfunction last time, their Uncle Matthew was reluctant to let them do another trip. "Uncle Matthew!" Jenna cried, running to get him. Matthew came in, his pet dodo Kiki waddling behind him. "The singing bowl!" Matthew gasped. They stared at the bowl in wonder and concern. "We have to see where it leads this time," Thomas said. "But it's too dangerous," Matthew said. "After it went wrong so many times." "We'll be more careful," Ben promised. "Imagine what we could discover." The children looked at Matthew with pleading eyes. He felt torn. The secrets of the bowl called to him as well. "Just a quick peek," he conceded. The children cheered. They stared at the engravings, which showed an ancient castle with towers and turrets. Flags fluttered from the towers, and a magnificent oak door stood slightly ajar. The children went off through the museum looking for a display case with a similar European castle. Wonder and unease mixed as Jenna flicked a finger toward the bowl. And suddenly they were hurled through a vortex into the display case. It snatched them up, swirling furiously before spitting them out. The museum warped away, replaced by a large stone-walled chamber. Tapestries hung from the walls, their threads glittering with gold. The castle felt as if knights and ladies had just left. "The engravings led us to a real castle," Ben breathed. Excitement lifted their unease. "Let's look around. As always with our travels, there must be a reason we were sent here," Jenna whispered, her eyes shining. They crept into a torch-lit stone corridor. Armor lined the walls, shadows flickering across their visors. "Who do you think lived here?" Ben wondered. The castle seemed frozen in time. They entered a grand hall with a magnificent oak table. At the end of the hall was a door engraved with horses and hounds. "The Lord's private chambers," Matthew guessed. "A castle in England, perhaps." Excitement and unease clashed in their chests. What would they find? Jenna stepped to the door and pushed it open. It creaked ominously. Inside was a dark chamber filled with a musty smell. As her eyes adjusted, astonishment gripped her. The chamber was in disarray, as if it had been ransacked. Chests were open and cloths were strewn across the floor. Matthew picked up a yellowed parchment, crumpled in his hands. "Someone left in a hurry," Thomas muttered. A shiver ran down their spines. What had happened here? A loud crash shattered the silence. They spun around, their hearts pounding. "Who's there?" Matthew called sharply. Only silence. They looked at each other in terror. They were not alone. Another crash echoed through the castle. They froze as the sounds of attackers rang out. Swords clashing and men shouting. A black-armored knight charged into the chamber, swinging his sword at the magic bowl. "No!" shouted the children. But a crack split the air. The knight's sword had shattered the bowl, its magic destroyed. Jenna fell to her knees with a gasp. Panic gripped her as she realized they were trapped here with no way back. "What do we do?" Ben's voice trembled as he examined the bowl. The damage was severe. The engravings that showed them the way through time were cracked beyond repair. Matthew took a deep breath, though his face was pale. It had been foolish of them to tamper with the bowl again after its malfunctions, but how could they have known it would meet such an end? But for now, they had to cling to hope. Cruel eyes glittered beneath the wolf's helm as the knight wheeled toward them. "Intruders," he growled, his sword gleaming. "You dared to enter our lord's castle. Your cruelty has already laid waste to our hall. Who but Ethelred sent you to harm our lord Swain Forkbeard? But you will not find him. He is safe, and soon he will be king of all the Danes, Norwegians, and English. Now you will pay for your trespass and pay dearly." "Please, we are not intruders," Jenna cried, not understanding a word. Matthew put a hand on the knight's sword arm. "There has been a mistake. We mean you no harm." But the knight slapped Matthew back with a snarl. "Lies! You are in league with our enemy. Now you will pay." He brought his sword down on Matthew. Panic gripped them as the enemy shouts came closer. They had to stop this madness and hide, fast. Jenna pulled Ben behind a fallen trunk as the knight's sword swung toward them. Matthew wrestled the knight back, shouting, "We mean you no harm! A magic bowl brought us here!" But the knight was mad with rage and disbelief. He swung his sword at Matthew, who deflected it. The children rushed to help. Jenna tripped the knight while Thomas rammed into his legs. With a crash, the knight fell, but in a flurry of movement he sprang to his feet, snarling. His helm turned, and Jenna glimpsed a vivid scar across his cheek. What had the enemies done to make him so scarred and mad? Rage and pain burned in his eyes. More shouts rang out. Enemy knights rushed down the corridor, coming closer and closer. Escape closed in around them. "Run!" Matthew yelled, shoving them out of the chamber and into the grand hall. But panic gripped the children, trapped here without a magic bowl. The enemy was almost upon them. Jenna's eyes fell on a silver goblet and platter. She grabbed them, frantically rubbing and flicking them like the bowl, desperation clawing at her. A flash blinded them, and the singing bowl was in her hands, whole again. "It's back!" she gasped. Joy and disbelief surged through her. The bowl had somehow undone its destruction. She flicked it, and they were pulled into another vortex, just as the knight rushed after them. The castle was gone. Blinking, they found themselves clutching the bowl in a blank white room. There were no walls, no windows, no doors, just a massive easel. They took a deep breath. A woman's voice said, "Welcome, I am the painter. Fortunately, I was able to save the singing bowl. The Vikings are not to be trifled with." "Vikings," Thomas repeated silently as he processed what he had just experienced. The painter looked at them with wise eyes, colors swirling in their depths. "The bowl has told me of your travels through time in search of adventure. Now I have brought you here so that my work may continue, and because I owe you answers." Matthew and the children nodded. "It was I who sent you on your journeys, though it surprises me to see children before me now. For centuries, the magic bowl has connected me to brilliant minds of the past, polymaths like Leonardo da Vinci and Imhotep, whom you met. When they flick the bowl, their knowledge is transported to me, knowledge that is lost in this time you call the future." Thomas shook his head in confusion. They were in the future. His head was buzzing. The painter continued, "In my time, that is for you the future. Much wisdom has been lost. I seek the insights of great thinkers, the lost knowledge of ancient cultures, the stories of diverse societies, and the understanding of nature itself across the breadth of time and the world. My goal is to paint a masterpiece that shows the full chorus of life in all its beautiful colors, a painting of the world to preserve its colorfulness." She pointed to the canvas where a colorful painting appeared. Jenna, Ben, and Thomas moved closer, and indeed they could see elements of their travels in the painting. There was Notre Dame, a dodo in Mauritius, or an Aztec field. "So you created the singing bowl, and whenever you needed new information for your painting, you made a mission appear in the bowl?" asked Ben. "Indeed. I myself am bound to this place, but I can make others travel through time," she said with a mysterious undertone in her voice that raised more questions than it answered. "But lately the journeys have gone awry. Someone is trying to manipulate the knowledge the bowl brings, preventing the diversity of the world from being preserved. Like now. Our adversary has taken you to the year 1002, when all Danes, Vikings as you know them, were being persecuted in England. Much too dangerous. He has caused malfunctions that have nearly ended the bowl, and your lives. I do not yet know who this enemy is, but it is vital that he be stopped. Will you help?" The children stared at her, amazement and unease warring within them. They exchanged glances. Though uneasy, this was a chance to solve the mystery that threatened the magic they had come to trust. Matthew still tried to remind the children of the dangers of time travel, but he was not heard. They turned back to the painter and nodded. A smile lit her face. One journey had ended. A new journey was about to begin. She waved her brush, and the world fragmented into rainbow light as Jenna, Ben, Thomas, and their Uncle Matthew returned to their time.